Hi everyone, my name is Sophie.
And Tim.
And this is Sprinkle with Soil's YouTube channel. Today, we want to walk you through a very special homestead tour. As we say goodbye to our homestead of 6 acres in Northern California, Tim and I want to walk you through what we implemented during our time there. In our last videos here, we were urban homesteading on 1/4 acres in Walnut Creek in the San Francisco Bay Area with a backyard garden and some chickens. However, once we wanted to add more livestock to our farmstead, we needed more land in the country. We never lived in the country before, so we packed up our RV and toured other regenerative farms around the U.S. with our entire family in search for the right farming community while also building out our homestead in California, with the hopes of staying close to family and friends. As we hand off our homestead in California to the next lovely family, we are grateful for the experiences and everything we learned here on this land. After 2020, we now seek to live a quiet and simple life beneath our means and invest in skills rather than stuff. We are truly returning to our roots, spending slow and intentional time with our family and really cultivating the relationships with one another and with our food. Today, we farm on 5 acres in the beautiful Appalachian Mountains and take all the lessons that we learned from our first urban homestead in the city and our second country homestead, and we are able to replicate what we wanted on our farm with a fraction of the cost. And the best part is, we did it in just 60 days. We want to show you how simple it can be to get started and share with you all of our lessons learned. Tim and I have researched and learned from the best of the best, and we wanted to move fast and implement it on our land by ourselves. We strive to be self-sufficient and community reliant. Stay tuned for more of that content coming very, very soon. For now, let's go on a tour of our beautiful California homestead as we say goodbye and thank you to the land.
Alright guys, this is Tim, and I get the fun part of giving you a tour of our California homestead. We made a lot of improvements in such a short amount of time, and no, this wasn't intended to be a farm flip, because we actually made quality changes as we wanted to build a lasting legacy for our family. There were 4 priorities we focused on once we found this property: soil, water, power, and security. So let's start with soil. I mean, it's in our name, right? Producing food should be your number 1 priority. We had over 40 fruit trees in the orchard to ensure that we would have fruit year-round. For our garden vegetables and our medicinal garden, we started with amending the soil. The property came with barren clay-like land, and we quickly transformed it into dark, rich soil through the use of adding bioamendments, worm casings, good compost, and my favorite, lots and lots of broad forking. We also had the help of our master gardener friend who mentored us through the process and helped us produce over 150 pounds of watermelons during our first planting season. Water is life. You need it for your gardens and for your livestock. Fortunately, our property came with 2 stock ponds that were naturally fed and also had a creek that ran through it. So we divided this up into paddocks and made sure that every paddock had access to water. This took a lot of planning and coordination, but we made it happen. We never had to worry about pumping water or running PVC pipes to our livestock, and they always had free-range access to clean water. PG&E is notorious for rolling blackouts. Whether it's high winds, forest fires, or drought, we wanted to be as off-grid as much as possible. I learned in the military that it's important to always build contingency plans. We already had 50 solar panels that powered our home, but they were still tied into the grid and didn't come with any battery backups. So we added a whole house propane generator as a backup. The backup to the backup was a 30 amp outlet for the home where I could plug in a gas generator just in case we ran out of propane. Our private well also ran on electricity. Decided to install a 30 amp outlet right at the well just in case we were running low on fuel and wanted to be sure that we could still power the well only and still get clean drinking water. We also added dedicated exterior outlets, as shown here on the deck, which supported our deep freezers and refrigerators to store all of our meats. We also added a 30 amp outlet here to create an RV pad. When you own a farm, security means securing your livestock and protecting them from outside predators. That's exactly what we did with this property, but the first step was to identify the boundaries of our property. When you purchase a farmhouse or even raw land, boundaries are more often than not very vague, and it's always very important to get a professional survey done and have it recorded with the county. We had a surveyor come out and mark the 4 corners of our property. The next step was to get rid of the existing perimeter fencing, which was this dilapidated barbed wire fence on T-posts that ran around the property. We replaced this with 6-foot high no-climb fence with 2 feet of barbed wire sitting overhead. This prevented predators such as coyotes and mountain lions, as well as unwanted guests like deer, from jumping over the fence. The last thing you want is to spend all this money on your livestock as well as the feed and have it go walking away, or worse yet, have it eaten.
After spending a year implementing all of these changes, we tried to build and find the community with other homesteaders in the area. Even with the most perfect property on the rolling hills of Northern California, it still lacked the most important and critical thing in maintaining a homestead. It's that having a strong community around where we could support one another. And even though we decided to stay in California because of our friends and family, ultimately, when you homestead, it isn't meant to be done alone. Just like life, we're not meant to live life alone. With homesteading, it's almost elevated in the sense that there are going to be a lot of failures, and you want to surround yourself with others that understand the challenges that come with homesteading. All of those failures, like losing your animals or losing a crop, that can be there for you when you need them.
Yeah, I like to think that failures need to take place in order for there to be growth or success. And we had a recent failure. One of our dairy cows, Phoebe, she passed away at the end of December, and she had caught pneumonia. And I thought I caught it early on and called the vet, and we even called on our neighbor to help examine her. But within 48 hours, she was down, and it was really demoralizing, and it was a huge blow to us because we just started taking care of dairy cows, remember? And I just remember that day. It was raining too. The weather was fitting, and we notified our neighbors about it. And this is why community is important. I remember he came over right away, and we held a wake for that cow. And man, I've never had a wake for a cow, and that was something special. That's something that I will never forget. It was a special moment shared, but it was something that was needed, because the only other time I really felt this way, where I felt like, you know what, this is my responsibility, and was in the military when I was leading soldiers in Iraq. It's different when you're homesteading because, sure, I've lost chickens before, but a cow is, 800 plus pound animal, and so,
And the investment.
Yes, the investment too, and she was a part of the family. We were milking her daily, and our children loved her, and I didn't know where to go from here. I was questioning my abilities of being a future dairy farmer, but having a strong community was so vitally important right then and there, because just a couple of days afterwards, our neighbors went with us to go and examine a cow, and we were able to bring home a cow and 2 calves just 2 days later. And that's something that we would not have been able to do alone.
That was the biggest lesson that we learned in building a homestead. Now that we're building our third homestead in the mountains, we'll talk more about how we found our community and how we continue to build and foster the community we have here. We are applying the knowledge and all of the experience that we gained from our years homesteading in California, all of those challenges and overcoming those struggles, to build a solid homestead that we could continue building off for years to come. We've chosen to invest our time, money, and resources in learning new skills that help us to become more self-sufficient and community-reliant for years to come. Thanks for joining us today on our tour. We will definitely cherish our time spent here in California as we say goodbye to this homestead, but we are looking forward to the next chapter in our lives as we build upon what we've learned and continue to share our story with you. For more videos on how to start your homestead, how to grow your food, and how to cook your food and prepare your food properly, click on the button below to subscribe to get notifications on our next videos. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.